Good evening, everyone. It is once again Ted the Speed Learner, and tonight I'm going to actually review Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and I will tell you what I think of the movie in just a little bit. But first of all, I'm going to ask some questions about this movie, questions you may have not thought of. But before I do, I wanted to let you know I am running a live stream right now. That is why you're seeing me at an angle, and I have my laptop right next to me, but I do actually have all my notes right here. And as I ask the questions, if somebody wants to interrupt me on the live stream, I'll be more than happy to talk to them. If you are not watching me on the live stream right now, I want you to take the disc of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, or you can watch it on the live stream. Watch this video along with it so you can follow along with the questions, and then there you go. Okay, so let's get to the questions. Why is the phone booth initially gold and in the shape of a crystal? That's never answered. Why is it rotating? Doesn't need to rotate at all. And I don't see any ropes holding this thing and bringing it down gently and safely. I mean, is it magnetic or something? That's never mentioned either. And people are actually bowling and playing miniature golf in the future? Interesting. How many planets do they communicate with? And how do they communicate with other planets? That's never answered. If Bill and Ted ran into a few problems, how could they make the future great in the first place? I mean, they should have succeeded immediately, and George wouldn't... Rufus, okay? Rufus would not have had to travel back in time anyway, because obviously Bill and Ted succeeded and their world was created. Now, how could Bill and Ted afford electric guitars, a video camera, and an amplifier? What, did Bill's father just give everything to Bill? Okay. How did Missy persuade Bill to call her mom? I'd like to know that. And how long was the courtship of Bill's father and Missy? Because, let me tell you something, she had not been out of high school that long. Okay? Now, if Ted is 18 years old, as it is indicated in the movie, how could his father ever force him to go to Oates Military Academy? He could have just told him, hey, I ain't doing nothing. Okay? He could have forced him to get a job, I suppose, but Oates Military Academy? Really? And who are the three guys that Rufus was talking to just before he entered the phone booth and started traveling? And what was Rufus's job title? That's never mentioned. And what is the power supply of the phone booth? And more importantly, where is this power supply? I'd love to know that as well. Now, how does Rufus just happen to know the number he's supposed to dial? What is Bill's father's profession? That's never mentioned. We know that Ted's father's a cop. What's Bill's father's profession? He must have a good job because he's got a lot of stuff. And why is it Bill's father concerned about Bill's grades? And what was Ted eating at the Circle K? And you're telling me at the Circle K, nobody noticed the lightning, nobody's noticed the phone booth. And nobody noticed Rufus either. Now, neither Ted nor Bill, okay, neither Bill nor Ted asked Rufus who he was or why he was there. All right. Dan the Man Cunningham says, sorry I missed the past couple of minutes because I was doing something else. That is fine. You can always catch up later. All right. And neither Bill nor Ted expressed any concern about Rufus knowing their names or about their history report. I'd be asking a few questions. And neither Bill nor Ted recognized themselves, really. Why would Ted tell Ted to wind his watch when he knew that he would forget? I know they weren't exactly the smartest bunch, but I know they had a few brains. That's proven later on. And you're telling me not one soldier in Napoleon's army saw the phone booth, saw Rufus, saw Bill, or saw Ted? Really? Napoleon's the first to spot him. And you're telling me that neither cannonballs or musket balls, neither one actually reached Bill, Ted, Rufus, or the phone booth? Really? And Ted's brother Deacon never heard the phone booth suddenly show up? And Ted's dad never noticed the phone booth? Not once? And Bill calls Ted's dad from a time-traveling phone booth. I mean, the thing's not even connected to anything. Right. Man, that thing's got some amazing technology. Why did it take so long for Ted's dad to leave the house? And no one noticed Bill or Ted in 1879? Why would Billy the Kid make any public announcement whatsoever? He was a fugitive, right? Billy the Kid never inquired about the phone booth at all. I mean, they practically drugged Billy the Kid to the phone booth. He was facing incredible opposition. He never once asked about the phone booth at all. And there were no Greek soldiers whatsoever surrounding Socrates. Oh. And no one noticed or heard that Bill and Ted were putting on medieval armor. Right. And how did Ted fall out of the armor? And, I mean, he fell out of the armor. Gee, he would have had only mere seconds to hide. How did Ted hide? Nobody noticed that? And the guard that confronted Bill never summoned any backup whatsoever. And Henry VIII actually had 2 executioners? Really? And you're telling me that Billy the Kid and Socrates disobeyed Bill and Ted's instructions and actually checked up on Bill and Ted? And no one closed the medieval gate? Right. If the phone booth was traveled by that mace that was being flung around, then how did the phone booth continue to travel? Love to know that. But here's the thing. They spent a great deal of time in medieval England. If you watch carefully, they spent a great deal of time in medieval England. If the clock in San Dimas is always running, wouldn't they, by the time they got out of medieval England, been late to their history report? Think about it. And what caused Bill to notice that the phone booth was broken? And when he first noticed that something was wrong with the booth, why didn't he just stop the journey to find out what was wrong with it before he proceeded on? Now, when Billy the Kid entered the phone booth, I don't recall Billy the Kid having a rope with him when he did that. So where did he get the rope from? And you're telling me that no one attempted to stop Bill or Ted from kidnapping Beethoven. Right. Maybe Billy the Kid grabbed his weapon or something. I don't know. Anyway. Now, when the phone booth is in the circuits of time, everybody can stand up in the phone booth. You could probably put 10, 12 people in there. But then it turns the phone booth right side up. You can't fit 12 people in a phone booth. Maybe 4 or 5 possibly, but 12? Are you kidding? So how'd they keep inside the phone booth? Oh, and the antenna is broken, but yet they were able to go to all of their destinations. And how did Rufus know how much time they had left? Okay, the phone booth landed on the water hose. I would have thought the pressure built up in the hose from the phone booth landing on it would be enough to break the water hose, and it should have gone kapoof at that point. That'd be a lot of water pressure. That ever happened? Really? And Missy never asked about the phone booth or anybody inside? Really? And Missy didn't recognize a single person that stepped out of that phone booth. And how long did it take everybody to do all those chores? Yeah. They keep saying they don't have much time, but they got a time machine. Why would Napoleon go to Waterloo? He could have gone to a number of places from the bowling alley. And think about that. How would Napoleon have gotten any food? Because he had eaten the ice cream the night before, but he would have been hungry for breakfast. Where did he get all his food? And nobody noticed Napoleon, not even the police. Right. And what was Napoleon took off his military uniform and he put something else on at Waterloo. What the heck was he wearing? Now, you know that when Abraham Lincoln walked in that photo studio, he had his hat on. Obviously, the guy could have noticed right off the bat that Abraham Lincoln's beard was real. Then why in the heck did the clerk at the photo studio ask for Lincoln's hat and beard back? He should have known right off the bat that those were both his. Now, the clerk at the music store should have appreciated Beethoven's playing, because Beethoven was actually attracting a lot of customers. Why would he make Beethoven stop? Shoot, he probably should have let the guy play all day. Now, you're telling me that Billy the Kid had some particular reason to use his weapon inside of a wall? He should have known that just holding it would have been enough to have scared everybody off. He didn't have to actually use it. I mean, what was it, an adrenaline rush or something? I don't know. That would be kind of a waste of ammunition. I don't think Billy the Kid would waste ammunition. Why couldn't Bill and Ted just have actually traveled back to the report with all these people? They had a time machine. They could have done that easily. I mean, think about it. They time traveled back to give themselves the keys, to set up the tape recorder, to set up the piece of paper that they wrote that message on, etc., etc., etc. All they had to do is time travel back and give the report. They had plenty of time. Oh, and they remembered now think about this, they actually remembered the keys, the typewritten paper, the tape recorder, the trash can. Really? They remembered all of this after the report was done? This is Bill and Ted we're talking about here. Oh, and the guy at the other cubicle. Remember, they had been reading this piece of paper aloud in that one cubicle. Bill and Ted was. And the guy at the other cubicle didn't hear Bill and Ted murmuring about amongst themselves what this piece of paper said? Really? And he didn't even notice, this guy at this other cubicle didn't even notice that Bill and Ted had actually entered the other cubicle? He never noticed any of that? And Bill and Ted were actually able to open the jail window. Really? And Bill and Ted were allowed to keep the phone booth after the report was done. Uh-huh. And Rufus was actually able to open the garage door. There's a radical thought. Okay. Overall, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure is a great movie. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I have it in my collection. I watch it from time to time. It was a good movie. I could have asked a lot more questions on this thing, but we have to take into account that this is, number one, a comedy, and number two, Bill and Ted were not all that bright, so some of this you just kind of have to dismiss as the ignorance of Bill and Ted. Okay, so you can't really get too serious with the thing. But as you can see, even as ignorant as Bill and Ted was in this movie, really? Anyway, I want to thank you very much for watching this presentation. If you want to answer any and all these questions, please leave the answers down here in the comments below. I will say one more thing. There is a third Bill and Ted movie coming out. It is called Bill and Ted Face the Music. I am very anxious to see this movie. I will also say that I have a lot of compassion and sympathy for those working at the Circle K. Yes, the Circle K is a real gas station. They have them all across the United States. Anybody working in one of those, because of this Bill and Ted movie, there's going to be a big advertising campaign. I can just about imagine the business they're going to have because of Bill and Ted. So I have a lot of compassion for them. So, if you are at a Circle K, have compassion for the clerks, because they're going to have to deal with a lot of stuff. Alright. I want to thank you very much for watching this particular presentation. You guys have a wonderful evening. I will tell you more in a future video, so I'd like for you to stay tuned.